All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Saturday live session here at YouTube Live every Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Hopefully, everybody had a great weekend, and with all the economic data, I'd like to share with you guys. I forgot to do a recap Friday yesterday, so if anybody attend today, you can get all the recap today. So last Friday, the last week, we have a pretty much very good economic data coming from the financial sectors. Everybody's beating, a lot of companies are beating earnings and stuff like that. So therefore, the stock market has reflect in that sense. Well, with that said, as well, the 10-year bond has retreated, so it was below 1.6% as of Friday. So, we're seeing favorable rates. I know that it's not as good as on Wednesday, where there's a lot of you have taken advantage of that and have locked in their interest rate on Wednesday. So, it's just slightly, getting there better now on Friday. But definitely Wednesday was the day of the week, the whole week. Wednesday was the best time for you to lock interest rate. Well, what are we doing here? Like I said, this is a Saturday session. Every single Saturday, we do it at 9:30, where we talk about mortgages, real estate market, anything involves around real estate and mortgages. Okay, I've been doing this about 20 years, 20 plus years now, and anything I can bring to you as far as my experience is concerned, I happily to do so. I want to do some housekeeping real quick. Number one, you can always type in the chat box if you have any questions regarding mortgages or real estate. At the same time, you can always call in at 408-416-8260. That's our direct line where we will be answering all your questions. We just ask that when you do call, make sure that, if you're on listening to a different device, you turn that device down. So we took care of the housekeeping. I'm excited to bring to you today. So on top, you can see our 30-year fixed rate on conforming rate is about 2.625 with an APR of 2.663. Last Saturday, you notice it'll be higher. So if you go back to our videos, it is a little bit higher than this Saturday. So definitely we are on the right track to bring the interest rate a little bit more favorable. So that way all of our client can take advantage of that. So what are we bringing in to you guys this week? So today. So this Saturday, I'm so excited to bring to you guys how mortgage broker makes their money. So when you come in, you say, hey, I want to do a loan. I want to know what my interest rates are, et cetera, and et cetera. Well, they can ask you for all the paperwork. They'll ask you for documentation, what your FICO score and all that stuff. But they don't really tell you how they pick the interest rate for you, right? Again, mortgage loan originator like ourselves, we are hired by you to negotiate on your behalf with mortgage lenders for the best favorable rates possible for your unique situation. But everybody works for a fee. So nobody really works for free. We know that. I mean, we made a video on that. There's no such thing as no point, no cost. It's either you pay it out of your pocket now or you'll be paying for it every single month for the life of the loan. So what is important, why you're here, what this video is all about? Well, what I'm trying to do is educate the consumer to let them know that, what, let's put everything on the playing field, making sure that we're competing fairly, making sure that you are well informed as far as how mortgage broker make their money. So with no further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and get into the presentation. And if you have any questions, you can always stop me at any time, type in the chat box, and or call in at 408-416-8260. All right, so let's do this. Again, we're gonna just letting you guys know, don't overpay when you apply for a mortgage, and that's what our session is all about today. A lot of us, been paying for it. They say, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. They're so expensive, etc. and etc. Well, technically, it's not expensive if we understand where the fees are. Okay, and by law we need to disclose those fees to our consumer, to our clients. So let's move ahead, and I'm gonna go ahead and go into this presentation. Let me grab a drink of water. So this is I'm going to just give you a quick example of the mortgage interest rate. So typically, mortgage loan originator will see a rate sheet that looks similar to this. Okay, some of the mortgage loan officer uses different programs, different websites where they'll just type in the scenario, like, you know, what your loan amount is, what is your appraised value or purchase price will be, if it's a single family home or condos, if it's a primary residence or if it's an investment second home, what your FICO score will be, zip codes, and then it'll populate, you know, what the rates will be, right? But you know, with us, we want to teach or want to show the consumer what this all means. Okay, so there's a lot of information here. Like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to type in the chat box or call us, and we'll be happy to answer those questions for you. Phone number to reach out to us is 408-416-8260. So let's do this. I'm going to go very slow. I'm going to give you a very quick example as far as, you know, make it simple for everybody, okay? So I'm going to move over here, and I'm going to look at, you know, interest rate. So let's look at the rate. Oop, let me go. My drawing is terrible. Okay, so as you can see, what I just drew right there around the circle, the big box, is that we're going to look at the lowest interest rate possible for that day. So you see rate on your left, your first column, 2.625%. And then we will see a 15 days. So the column next to that is a 100.538. And then you have a 30 days at 100.508. And then, of course, 45 days will be 100.338. So you might question, say, what is this 100 and what is the interest rate and what does all means, right? So bear with me. I promise it will all make sense very, very soon. So I'm going to go ahead and use an example, and I'm going to use $500,000 loan amount as our example for today. So I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to write down 500,000. Okay, so your loan amount. Sorry, my penmanship is not that great. So I'm going to go ahead and borrow $500,000 loan amount, okay? So let's pretend that, you know, your house is $1 million. So we're not going to, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do this. 1 million equals appraise. Okay, so let's do this. 1 million. Okay, so the $1 million is appraised value. You're going to borrow $500,000 loan. So it's pretty much a 50% loan to value. Okay, so so for mortgage brokers, right? So when you come in, you say, okay, oh, you know, what is my rate today? And people will tell you, oh, today will be, you know, 2.75, no points, and you have to pay closing costs, or 2.625, no points, but you pay closing costs, or 2.875, you know, no point, no costs, things like that. And people would say, you know, what majority of a consumer are so tied up on is that no point, no cost, right? So I just had an agent yesterday call me late last night and ask me, hey, Michael, can you beat this jumbo loan at, you know, I think it's like 750 or $1 million. Yeah, 750,000. The purchase price is like $2 million. Can you beat 2.625 no point, no cost? And I'm like, no way, right? Whoever can do no point, no cost at 2.625, go with them, right? And then we sat and we talked a little bit more, and we make sure that I ask him, okay, are you sure it's no point, no cost, or it's no points only? And then they have to pay the customary closing costs. So when I explained and we spoke and we talked back and forth, we realized that everybody has their own definition of no point, no cost. Okay. So for the mortgage broker side, right, most consumer or most agents say, okay, well, as long as we're not paying the mortgage broker, is what they're looking for, right? So no point, no cost to the broker, and then of course they pay for the customary escrow fees and or title lender fees. Okay, so that is a one definition of no point, no cost. For us here at Directqm, when we say no point, no cost, that means we cover everything. That means everything is paid for. You're not going to come out of pocket a dime. That's no point. That's the real definition of no point, no cost. That means you do not pay for anything. So for instance, we have situations where our client, we close a loan with our client when we did a no point, no cost loan. So the client, of course, definitely pay for their the credit report first. So it's about $32. Okay. So when the client pays for that through their own credit card, and then they pay for the appraisal if it's needed, and then that ranges between $450 all the way up to, depending on, what type of loan and what type of property, and if you need a rent survey, because I used to be a licensed appraiser, so it all depends on what type of appraisal the lender is asking for. But it ranges between $465 and up. Okay, so the client pays for that too, upfront. Okay, so how does no point, no cost works when the client already paid for these, right? Well, what happened is it is our duty to refund those fees back to the client if it's a no point, no cost loan. Okay. Of course, we also have our clients sign a early payoff, early payoff addendum, meaning that they cannot refinance and close this loan again within the first 6 months after we close it. The reason for that is because the client's not paying for anything, right? That means we are paying for everything. Therefore, we ask the client to hold that loan for at least 6 months to recoup our costs through, 6 payment of their mortgage. So that way we recoup some of the cost back. And then, of course, definitely they can refinance after that. It is not a prepay penalty. Just keep that in mind, guys. It's not a prepay penalty. It's just called an early payoff. Prepay penalty is different than an early payoff. And I can go through that the next week. We're going to talk about early payoff versus prepay penalties. Currently, we're going to just focus on how to read the rates and how it benefits you as your client. And I want you to make sure that you understand why certain brokers or mortgage brokers charges more fees than others. And you have to be very, very careful to know and understand this, because, they can say a lot of things. And then, once you close the deals, and then it's more like he said, she said. So keep this in mind, guys. It's best. And I talked to this to one of the biggest lender here in the United States as well. They're very big on phone calls. And I told them straight up, no, I like to have emails. I like to have it tracked. I want to make sure that, when problem arises, I can go back to my email and say, hey, look, this is what I said. This is what I sent. This is when I sent it to. And this is who I sent it to. And this is what I got the response. So you guys dropped the ball, or we dropped the ball. I mean, there's no pointing fingers. There's no he said, she said. Okay. So keep in mind, guys, everything you guys do or you request, make sure you got it through email or through text message. Save those, so that way when you close the deal and the broker didn't live up to their end of the bargain, you have something as a recourse to go back and kind of request for that fees back. Okay, so let's look at this. So if you're looking at the screen right now, anything at 100, we call it par. Okay, so 100 equals par, meaning that it's zero. Okay, so anything above 100, that's become a credit. So anything above 100 equals credit. Okay, and okay, and anything, of course, below 100 is a cost. Okay, and I'm running out of space here. And I'm writing this on my iPad, and I apologize for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete some of the stuff, so that way it's easy for everybody here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and delete it. So I'm gonna say 100 equals at par. Okay, anything over 100 equals a credit. Anything below 100 is a cost. Okay, so what does that mean? That means you're gonna pay whatever those fees are to get that interest rate. So right now, if you look on the rate sheet, everything is above 100. So no matter which rate you choose, you're gonna get a credit. Okay, so how does this work? So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and clear everything here. Okay, so right now, remember, we're gonna just focus on this right here, this box. Okay, so we're gonna just focus on 2.625 and a 15 days, 30 days, and 45 days. What it means is that 15 days is basically when you lock the rate at 2.625, you're guaranteed that rate for the next 15 days. Okay, or 30 days will be guaranteed for the next 30 days. 45 days will be guaranteed for the next 45 days. As you can see, the cost or the credit gets less and less as more days we guarantee the interest rate for. Okay, which makes sense, right? Because they price in market volatility, and we don't know what the rates will do within the next, well, even like within the next couple hours, to be honest. Okay, so let's just use this for example. So if you go to a broker office and they tell you, oh, today's interest rate is 2.625, no points, but we give you a credit of 0.538. So definitely, I'm getting disconnected. Oh, perfect. I just got reconnected. So for sure, you know for a fact that they're giving you, so if a broker tells you or mortgage loan originator give you 2.625, and then it will be a credit of 0.538%. So on a $500,000 loan amount, you just take 500 and multiply by 0.538%. 0.538. That equates to $2,690 in credit. Okay, so you might have a question and say, okay, what is $2,690 in credit? What do I use it for? Okay, so remember, you're not paying the broker any fees, right? So there's no points, no fees to the brokers, but you get a credit of $2,690 here to use towards your closing costs. So that means what? You have to pay for escrow, lender fees, right? So those are closing costs. So you take $2,690 towards your closing costs. So whatever that closing cost might be, you will pay for that, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to move myself here. So what does that mean? That means either your closing costs, if your closing costs amount to about $2,600, that basically is telling you that at 2.625, you can literally do this loan at no point, no cost, okay? If your closing cost is $2,690 or less. Now, what if you go to a different broker? So I'm gonna go ahead and delete this. So let's say you come to us and let's say the broker, we're gonna talk about broker compensation here, right? So broker comps, so this is how much they make, right? So if a broker, one of the broker you go to say, okay, well, my comp is, let's say 1%, okay? They charge 1%. And most people say, oh, don't worry about it. You're not paying for it. It's no point. And then you're like, okay, but I want to know how much you guys charging. Because remember, even though they say, don't worry about it, it's no point, technically it's not, right? Because why? It's priced in. So for instance, if a broker, I'm going to give you an example, a broker compensation is 1% of your loan amount. So the client comes to that broker. So if I'm going to go to a broker, that broker charge 1%, right? That broker cannot give me a 2.625% with no points. Because why? Based on the pricing that you see, the rate sheet shows 100.538, which is only 0.538 credit. We need to get up to 1%, so that way you don't pay any points, or else you have to pay the difference, right, for the broker. Well, here the broker will quote you 2.75 and you get a credit, okay? And then you get a credit of 0.319%, right? Why? Because remember, the broker compensation is 1%. So they give you a 2.75, they quote you a 2.75%, no points, and then they give you a credit of 0.319. Remember, anything above 100 is a credit. So right here you have 101.319, but you have to minus 1 point for the broker compensation, so you left over 0.319. So that's why they're giving you a credit, and technically they're not giving you a credit. The lender or the investor is giving you as a client the credit. Okay, the reason for that is because back then Dodd-Frank wasn't around, that it allows us to charge and then get our rebate and all that. So I can charge you 1% and get everything, and I keep everything. Well, now the new compensation saying that, okay, whatever you say you want to charge, anything excess over that amount has to go back to the client. Okay, and that's why I want to show you guys this, so that way you guys can understand that, okay, you know what, hey, I want to know how much you're charging, so that way you can shop to get the best rate possible. Okay, so keep this in mind, guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to type in the chat box, type in the comment box. If you're gonna view this later on, type in the comment box. We'll get notified, and then we'll respond back to you as well. Okay, so with this, as you can see, different brokers with different compensation plan can give you different interest rate. Okay, so it's very important, guys, that you guys are well informed. For instance, if a broker, all right, I'm going to give you broker A, okay, and then broker B. Okay, and remember, this is how you guys shop anyways, right? So you guys go to different brokers, and again, apologize for my writing. I'm writing this on my iPad, so my penmanship is not that great. Plus, I'm using, generic pens and stuff like that. So anyway, but you can see and you can understand what I'm talking about. So let's just say broker A charges half a point. Okay, so remember, broker comp, the comp plan is 0.50%, and then broker B will charge 1%. Let's just say that. Okay, so as you can see, each broker charges differently. So now if you go to broker A, guess what they're going to quote you? They're going to quote you 2.625%. Whoa, ugly. 2.625%. Credit 0.038. Okay, parentheses credit. Okay, if you go to broker B, they're going to quote you 2.75%. And then they're going to give you a credit of 0.319. Okay? Ugly. Let me see if I can make it better here. 0.319 credit. Okay. So as you can see, if you go to broker A, they will give you a quote of 2.625 interest rate versus broker B 2.75. Now, even though credit is a little bit more, of course, 2.75 interest rate, you get more credit towards your closing costs, right? But broker A give you a lower rate and still some credit. So it all depends on what you want to do, right? As a client, as an agent, you must understand how to explain these fees, so that way your client can get the best rate possible. Okay, now again, I want to reiterate nobody work for free. Everybody has to get compensated somewhere, somehow. You work for a company, you get paid based on your hourly or wages or your salary base. Everybody get paid somewhere, and we do the same thing, right? So it all depends. So for instance, if broker A charges 0.5% for their common, broker B, definitely you will get a lower rate on broker A when you go there versus broker B. But you as a consumer, you have the right, and actually the law state that we as mortgage loan originator must disclose to you guys how much we charge. Okay. So as a mortgage broker, we need to disclose to you how much we charge per loan. Okay. So it's not a secret where oh, don't worry. So a lot of consumer come to me and say, hey, Michael, how much do you charge for loan origination, or how much do you charge for the loan? Well, I say, well, we charge X amount, and it depends on what interest rate you pick. You can either pay for that, or the lender will pay for our compensation. Okay, so it's up to you. We always give the choice to the consumer. So just think this, through on this example. If the consumer wants a lower interest rate, definitely they will pay out of pocket versus getting a credit from the lender or investors, so that way they don't have to pay for that. Okay, so it all depends on the consumer. But I want to bring this to the forefront, to your attention, is that it depends on how much a broker charges dictates where your interest rate baseline will be. So this perfect example, again, broker A charged 0.5 or half a point versus broker B charged 1%. Broker B, if for instance broker B say, oh, okay, well, I can give you 2.625, but you have to pay, right? Well, why would I go to broker B for 2.625 when I have to pay versus broker A? I get the same interest rate, but I get some credit. So you can see the difference right there. So the more a broker charges, the higher interest rate you will pay to get that interest rate if you don't want to pay out of pocket. Now, people say, well, don't worry about it. It's no point. You're not going to pay nothing, right? You're not going to, you don't have to pay for that fees. We negotiate that on your behalf. The lender will pay for it. Yes, that's great. But I want the lower rate, right? So the reason why you're not getting the lower rate is because the broker of record is charging you way, way high. And if you want to get that lower rate, guess what? You have to pay out of pocket versus coming to us, which is much lower on the origination fees. So that way we can give you a competitive rates. Okay. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat box. Call us here, 408-416-8260. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have as far as mortgage rate concerned, how to read this rate sheet. Remember, anything above 100 is a credit. Anything below 100 is a cost. So it's an additional cost. Okay. We're here to bring you guys as much information as possible, knowledge for, in the industry. We want to make sure that you see, what brokers are doing out there. We don't want you guys to get overcharged ever again. Okay. If you guys are able to understand exactly what I'm saying here on this session, you shouldn't be overcharged at all. At least you're able to say, okay, I'm going to compare apple to apple. Okay. Again, a lot of people miss what's important as far as look at interest rates concerned versus APR, because I have an agent just call me a couple days ago, and they say, hey, Michael, why do we care about what the interest rate will be versus what the APR shows? And I say, well, there's a lot of things, right? For instance, the interest rate is what the clients are paying. That's definitely true. Okay. The APR plays a big role when they shop interest rate. Okay. The reason for that is because it tells you give you a rough idea. It's not exact, but give you a rough idea of what the cost will be, right, involved in as far as getting that interest rate. Now, I just noticed something that we did a boo-boo on. If you look at the jumbo rate at 2.99 and yet the APR is lower, which is not the case. So that's a boo-boo. I just saw that on my streaming. I will definitely fix that. So I just want to bring that to your attention if you guys are listening. Yeah, 2.99 interest rate for a jumbo loan, but yet the APR is 2.935, which is a boo-boo, which is wrong. Normally, your APR is either equal to your rates or higher. It should not be lower. Okay, it doesn't make sense because you're paying for the interest rate, but yet your fees are lower than basically you're doing a negative fees, which doesn't make sense. Okay. Anyway, with that said, I want you guys to kind of tune in every single Saturday. We talk about mortgages and real estate all the time. If you have any questions, please feel free to send us a chat box, send us an email, comment below. Let us know what kind of videos, what kind of topic you guys want to see us do. We'll definitely bring as much information to the consumer as possible. We're here to educate the consumer as well as my agents as well out there. If you're listening or you're watching this, again, if there's any topics or subject you want me to cover in the next video, please let me know. Next week, we're going to talk about the difference between early payoff versus prepaid penalties. We're going to talk about the difference between interest rate versus APRs. So we're going to talk about a few things next week. Again, agents out there, we're going to do a mortgage training very soon. I know there's a lot of you out there that just want to go. But if you don't really have that foundation, it's going to be very, very difficult. And not only that, think about this, guys. Your client trusts you with everything they got, right? We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, talking about millions of dollars here. We need to be able to make sure that we are well informed, are educated with knowledge, so that way we can inform our consumer and give them the most updated information possible, so that way they can make the best choice for their unique situation. So I want you guys to, kind of let me know what you guys want to learn or to see me cover, so that way you guys can have that information and then kind of relay that back to your client and serve them better. Okay. Other than that, I'd like to wish everybody a great Saturday, a great weekend. Be safe out there. I know a lot of you, I send out a lot of emails as far as the vaccine is concerned. We know about the J&J vaccine issues, that they're halting everything because of the 6 cases that we have in the States. So right now they're doing a panel review. The FDA is looking at closely on data, et cetera, and et cetera. But we know that yesterday, I think, we just opened up for everybody 16 or older to get vaccinated. So please go on websites to kind of try to get an appointment for your young ones. Once we have herd immunity, then we should be able to gradually go back to normalcy. So I hope everybody have a great weekend. Be safe out there. Continue to wear your mask. Continue to do social distancing. I know we're tired of it. I know. It's been over a year. Trust me when I tell you, I got my first dose. I'm getting my second dose within a few weeks. I think next week or so. I will go through that next week as far as my dose is concerned, what I feel, how I feel. I want to let you know as well. My first dose, it wasn't too bad. I didn't really feel the shot. The person who gave me the shot, she was really good at it. It was very fast. And, you sit down for about 15 minutes after the shot. And then she give you your, CDC card. Of course, you get your first vaccine and what type of vaccine. Make sure when she give or he gives you that card, the CDC card that you got vaccinated, make sure your name is spelled correctly. Make sure your birthday is on there correctly, because that will serve, I don't know how long this is going to be, but what I'm hearing is that it will kind of help you through if you need to travel. Make sure that you have that. Make sure it's accurate, okay? And if it's wrong, have them redo it. So that way you have the most updated, the correct information on your card, so that way you don't have to have that problem later on. So after after 15 minutes, I didn't, my arm still is feeling kind of tingly. It's kind of weird. I went back to the office and, I work, and then my arm starts feel tightening. and definitely at midday, or towards the end of the day, you start getting sore a little bit. At night was when I got the soreness. Okay, that's when it hits me really hard. I slept, but then at middle of the night, of course, I roll over to my right side. That's when I got my shot. I rolled over to my right side, and boom, I woke up right away. I mean, the pain is just unbearable. So I woke up, and then, of course, I tried not to roll to my right versus my left. So I slept on my left side, and it was okay. So when I woke up woke up that morning, everything is fine. I mean, beside a slight soreness, but other than that, the pain, or the extreme soreness went away already. So I didn't take any Tylenol, Advil, or anything like that. It's just let my body kind of take care of itself. But the next morning, I woke up. Everything was fine. It's a little bit sore, but it's nothing where it's unbearable or anything like that. After midday, the next day, everything was gone. So, again, I had the Pfizer vaccine. So I hope that everybody get vaccinated so that way we can get back to normalcy. Okay, but I will cover my second shot, and I'll let everybody know what I go through, and how it feels and everything else. So tune in every single Saturday. I hope that everybody can join me every single Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Please share this with your loved ones, your friends, your agents, your client. They can all join us here. They can all send text messages or chat box. They can always call in with their questions. You can call in with your questions. So if anybody has questions, please call in, or please type in the chat box. I'll be happy to answer them. If not, I'm going to go ahead and sign off, and wish everybody have a great weekend.